I mentioned how important it was to be here today. The summer solstice was yesterday, and so we're still in that powerful energy, this time of change. And this is a potent time for us to truly expand our field of faith. This is a time for us to be thankful and grateful and retrospective about what has happened and come before us, what brought us to this moment, but also to open up to all that is before us, all the newness that wants to be born. This is a time, the summer solstice, the time of the most light, that we are to reset our life, the foundation for our life, set our intention for what we really, really, really want out of our life right now. We're here at this time on purpose. This is not an easy time to be alive. Many other times weren't easy either, but this isn't a time that's easy. But it's a time that we can truly expand what we want and come together in a new field of faith in our own lives. Because what we see in this outer world isn't very comfortable. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he was a Unitarian minister and a philosopher. He led the Transcendental movement in the 19th century. He believed in self-reliance and the divine sufficiency in each and every individual. He believed in equality for all. He believed in optimism, to see and know the best of all things. And he believed that life was inherently good, but we needed to tap into a higher power. He said the finite world is filled with toil and suffering. And I'm sure we can all relate to that now. This physical world has a lot of pain and problem in it right now. But he said the infinite lies in smiling repose. Why would that be? Why could the infinite lie in smiling repose when all this stuff is going on here on earth? It's because that power for good, that creative intelligence, is waiting for us to open to it and receive that power for good, that creative intelligence, that infinite knowing that is always there. It's waiting for us. So at this potent time, it's really a time of opening for us, a time to make sure our vibration is as high as it can be. This can be an emotional time, of course, but we have a responsibility at this time to move through our emotions, to keep on moving, to not get caught up in resentment and anger and disappointment, but to hold on to the understanding that we are here on purpose and there's something better that we can experience right now as we change our understanding of things. It's a time to be compassionate and use this energy wisely. So be compassionate with ourselves, but also be compassionate in this world right now when you see other people or judge other people that you think aren't using this energy as wisely as you think should be done. Does anybody relate to that? I thought so, because we're in that kind of time when we feel so polarized, and there is this goodness that wants to be revealed. So, as Griselda so beautifully said, our topic this Sunday is the field of faith. And as she said in that reading, this is a spiral journey upward to where we feel that oneness with God, where we can feel that smiling repose, that energy that says, yes, I'm here for you. Everything I have is yours right now. We can be there on that journey of faith. Jesus said faith, which I see is an affirmative thought. It's a mental attitude we have about life. We can have a limited amount of faith, or we can have a grand amount of faith, a positive experience of faith. But this was such a good metaphor for me. Jesus said that faith is like a seed. Now I want you to think about that. Because faith is affirmative, but faith has a purpose and a knowing. Just like a seed knows if it's to be a tomato, a flower, an oak tree, and its purpose is to grow and expand and become what it's meant to be. so it has to have, that little seed has to have the faith to enter this dark soil where there is no light that can be seen, but to feel the light pull on it until it grows into what it's meant to be. And that's the same with our faith. Our faith is when we believe in something we cannot see, but we know it's possible. That's what affirmative faith is, that we know that there's something better. We know that the solution is at hand. We know that goodness is here. We know there's creativity available. We know that, even though we can't see it right now. That's what faith is all about. And if you think about it, when the seed gets planted in the soil, does the soil react on the seed, or does the seed react on the soil? Or do they work together in co-creative partnership? That's what I feel it is. We are here to be in that partnership with Spirit, to move past all of the dissension, the confusion, the separation, the polarization, the unhappiness, the discomfort, the sadness, the toil, the suffering, whatever it is, to know something better even though we can't see it right now. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody, that we can see something more? I'm going to close with an amazing, I just found this last night, and it came from the Science of Mind archives, which the beautiful president of the archives, Dr. Jim Van Cleve, is here, and it just fell into my lap like things do. But it's a prayer that Ernest Holmes gave. It was never widely published, but it came, world peace is not an illusion. So I just want to plant that right now in all of you, because that's what I want to grow right now in our own hearts and minds. But the only place we can start this bigger vision is within ourselves. We can't snap and make the world change like that. But the thing that can change is what's inside of us. And we have to really become monitors, and this happened in our practitioner class. They can tell you, monitors of our own patterns of thinking. Because what keeps us stuck in separation? It's a mentality of limitation, of smallness. It's not inclusive to understand things that might be a bit different than we are. We teach that there's variety in unity, that we all come from one power, one essence. We're individualized expressions of that. We're not individuals. I mean, I think there are people, many of us, are afraid to lose our individuality in this big sea of life. So we get stuck to things that we think are true and right and good, and we close out everything else. But we're not individuals. We're individualized expressions. I think it's the Hindus that say there's 1,000 names for God. And it's true, there's 1,000 names for that. It doesn't matter what we call it. It's that power for good that's ever available, and that's where faith comes from. And that's where you and we need to lean into that for several reasons. Now, when I said this whole idea that I want to end with, this world peace is not an illusion idea, we each carry a thought atmosphere around us. And that thought atmosphere is the vibration of the thoughts we have. Thoughts are things. Thoughts have a vibration that work on a universal mind, a creative potentiality. Thoughts are things. Words are power. And so we have this thought atmosphere around us that can be felt. So I want you to just see we're affecting not only ourselves, but we have an effect on other people by what we think, what we say, what we do. And that thought atmosphere, it's important for us to keep it raised up to a higher vibration. We're kind of like sending out radio waves of a conglomeration of all that we've thought and believed, but we can change our thoughts about things. Those things that might have been negative and limiting in the past, we can change the energy around that and have a greater thought atmosphere. Take a moment. What's your thought atmosphere? Is there anything that needs to be uplifted or changed right now? Well, it's nice you all have masks on because I can't tell a single thing you think about. What are they thinking? I don't know. I have to feel into those thought atmospheres right now and see what's going on. But you and I have really a responsibility or a privilege. I'll call it a privilege to be a beneficial presence. To really check what we're bringing into this world, how we're working on it, and what we're doing. I had a wonderful quote here, of course by Ernest Holmes, and it says, "We need to tune into the same station in our radio waves, where we are mutually attuned to the harmonious vibration of the good of all." Isn't that cool? Did you understand it? I was kind of choppy, but let me try it again. We need to turn into the same vibration, I'll say, where we are mutually attuned to the harmonious vibration of the good of all. Do you know what that would take to do that? It would mean we'd have to set aside our individual differences and opinions and realize that everyone deserves their own because we're all individualized. We'd have to enter into that understanding. So if you and I want to get to that place where we vibrate together, let me tell you the most powerful thing we can do, I think, in our life is the power of prayer, where we are communicating that opening song, talking to God, communicating with God, understanding that there is a power greater than we are. See, in this finite world, as Emerson said, that if we stay in this finite world and we get all of our experiences through what's going on physically, then we will have toiling and suffering and problems. But if we tune in to the infinite and commune with Spirit, we can start up-leveling ourselves in that power of prayer. One of Ernest Holmes' really good friends, Dr. Cherry Parker, was a professor at Redlands University, and he did a study in the power of prayer. I want you to think about this. He wanted to see if what we talk about, this affirmative prayer, if it really is more powerful than other things we do to up-level ourselves. So he got a group of people, and this was in 1951 to 1952. He got three small groups of people, maybe 45 to 50 in each group, different ages, different faiths, different needs. The qualifications they needed to have is they had to want something to be fixed, want something better in their life. So they had to have a need that they wanted to be met, they wanted a solution, they wanted results, and check in with yourself. They had to have a willingness to open their mind to something greater. Because that's really what effective prayer is all about, opening our mind to something greater and believing it can happen and will happen. Now the three groups, the first group was like a spiritual psychological counseling, like psychotherapy. That was the first group of people. The second group did the random prayers, the beseeching prayer, God, please give me this, or the bargaining prayers, I'll do this if you do this, God, the bargaining prayers all over the world. Or the third group was the affirmative prayers. He called it prayer therapy, spiritual mind treatment. Good friend of Ernest Holmes. So yes, they were on this page together, but affirmative prayer. And that's when you believe something can happen and you accept it. You accept it's good right now. In consciousness and thought, affirmative prayer is a power. And in the results, the highest degree of success, 72 to 75%, was in the affirmative prayer category. Now, counseling also came in second, but the results weren't as lasting as affirmative prayer. So you bet you know what Ernest Holmes did. Yes, he already knew it, but isn't it good to have things confirmed? It was a great thing to know that this power of affirmative prayer is real, and real things happen. They happen. So we need to start doing prayer in our own life to expand our faith, to change our own consciousness, to have a thought atmosphere of goodness and possibility and creativity and all that. But there's something more. Personal faith is so important. But there's a power even greater than that, and that's the field of collective faith. That's when we come together, as we do here, when we come together and prayer and spiritual communion to know there's something greater. We've heard the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's what collective prayer means. It's when we come together and know that something wonderful is going to happen, that we are here on purpose, that seed, on purpose for a reason, and to believe. It's a stretch right now to believe in world peace. It's a stretch. How can that happen? How could we ever get there from here? But the important thing is to know, it doesn't mean everyone's alike. It doesn't mean everyone thinks alike. It just means there's a peaceful understanding and cooperative energy that we use, and that's here for us. So we're getting into this consciousness of collective prayer. And Reverend Roger, I remember a few Sundays ago, it was, I guess, 7 Sundays after Easter, you came and gave us a beautiful, just your knowing of what the day of Pentecost, the meaning of that. And your passion was just something that we all caught. It was just beautiful. I've never really experienced celebrating the day of Pentecost, but it's the day when, and it's the 7th Sunday after Easter, and it's a day when the Holy Spirit descended on the followers, the disciples of Jesus, after he had ascended. And they were filled with the Spirit. It was Spirit coming down and filling everyone, and everyone's charged up with Spirit. And metaphysically, it's when you and I are so immersed in Spirit that we are ignited in light. And so that's going to lead me to just one other thing I want to say before I read the prayer. It was in February of 1959. Ernest Holm was at the Whittier Church of Religious Science, and it was its first opening. He was dedicating it. And he was giving one of his empowered, impassioned talks. And at the end, he stopped. I don't know where he was in the talk, but he ended it there. Anyway, he stopped and he said, "I see it. The veil between is so thin. We truly do mingle with the hosts of heaven. I see it." And he sat down. He had a cosmic consciousness experience right there. He didn't talk about it much because he said he didn't think people could understand it or believe it because it was so powerful. Well, because he'd had some similar experiences to that, when he was interviewed privately with someone, he said, that day in that church and everyone in it seemed like dancing vibrations of light. Dancing vibrations of light. And he said because of his similar experiences, he felt the whole world was a dancing vibration of light. And he said if we could learn to look at things that way, we would live in wholeness. I'm going to close with a prayer, and it's an excerpt from one of Ernest Holmes' unfinished works, and it's called World Peace is Not an Illusion. And it's from July 1955. And as I said, it was found in the Science of Mind archives. So, we want peace on earth. Then let us pray for peace in our own hearts and peace in our own minds. Let us live as though peace were a mandate of God, because it is. Together, let us affirm, let us encourage others, no matter what the opposition appears to be, for it is a fundamental reality of God. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Let us face the future without fear, but let us also face it intelligently, as men and women who are not afraid of anything, because there is nothing in the universe to be afraid of. Some things could be avoided. Let us realize if the world is healed of war and brought into peace, it won't have been because guns were bigger and better or more of them. We need them until it does not heal itself, but what will come to pass only because somewhere along the line, the balance of the scales of eternal truth shall fall on the side of peace. Let us, you and me, pray for peace, and let us make our hearts fit to accept it when it comes. Let us make our intellect, our soul, and our will, and our feeling ready to receive it and embrace it even before it comes. Let us prepare ourselves in advance. And I'm just adding in, like the seed in the soil. Let us prepare ourselves. Let us, in the stillness of our own soul, go back to that ineffable presence, which is peace, and proclaim it even in the midst of confusion. Proclaim that peace even in the midst of confusion. That peace which is the power at the heart of God. And so it is. Amen. Let us have faith in that good. I love you all. I know you hold that truth, and I know that we'll hear about the faith it takes right now.